Welcome to the Alcohol Addiction Podcast. My name is Davy. I'm not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I'm someone that doesn't drink alcohol and I spend every waking moment of my life helping other people do the same, like just right now in this parking lot in Tahunga in Los Angeles. The sun is blaring in my face. I can hardly see the screen, but if I turn around the other way, those of you that enjoy the Alcohol Addiction Podcast via video might not even see me. So let's go with this for now, is it? I want to start out by saying that I'm going to change the format of the podcast a little bit. Inspired in part by Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't listen to Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast anymore. And the part that inspired me, I didn't even like it, but it has inspired me. Vaynerchuk, for those of you that don't know, is a bit of he's a bit of an entrepreneurial kind of like superstar, marketing, branding, superstar, whatever you want to call him. He actually made his money selling wine, so goes against our values a little bit. But one of the things he did on his podcast that I thought was interesting is that he would just record like his thoughts, or if he was in a meeting with someone at work, he would record it and he would put it out there. And it was grainy, there was a lot of background noise. I'm by the road right now, you could probably hear the road. But it didn't bother me. I just thought it was good. He was giving us an insight into his life. However, that was a good bit because it was different and it was unique, but I found it boring. So I'm going to try and do the same, but try not to make it boring. So please let me know if I do end up boring you to death, okay? So the first thing we're going to do with the Alcohol Addiction Podcast is we're going to remove the episode numbers, right? Because, wait there a minute, there is a fire engine going by. Because we don't really need the numbers, do we? We don't need, hello, it's Lee Davy, episode 5 billion and 58 trillion when I'm in 90 years of age. So I'm going to remove the episode numbers, just going to chuck them out. Probably means you're going to get more podcast episodes as I think about these things. So what's on my mind right now? So I've been rereading, and I don't do this often, I've been rereading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza, right? Normally, because, let's face it, we're never going to read all the books that we want to read in life. So to read a book a second time, to me it's a bit of a waste. It's like watching a movie for a second time, or going on vacation to a part of the world for a second time, because we know we're never going to be able to fill our life up with all these different experiences. Why duplicate an experience, right? But I think Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is such an important book in terms of not only the philosophy around the truth about alcohol and the reasons why we drink alcohol, but more importantly, how we eventually become someone who doesn't drink alcohol. But my own personal journey and how I want to change how I feel and how I behave as I get older, right? So I'm rereading the book, and I just went and had a burrito just down the road outside Starbucks when I'm working, and I read a little bit of his book as I was eating it, and two things leaped out at me, okay? And before I do that though, I want you to know that I got to Starbucks this morning around 8 o'clock in the morning. I got stuck into my work around 10 o'clock. I get a phone call off Liza. Her and her mother have locked herself out of the house, and they need me to stop everything I'm doing and to walk back home and open the door because I'm the only one with the keys, right? So straight away I am pissed off because it's a 30-minute walk. I've just got into my work. I've got the prime seat that I want in Starbucks. I don't want someone else to pinch it from me, and it puts me in a bit of a mood. And I react in kind. So I react by going, oh, so I got to walk home then, have I? And Liza says, yeah, sorry. And I kind of like say, okay, and then I put the phone down and then I walk home. Now, why does that happen? Why did I do that? Why couldn't I have reacted differently, okay? Why couldn't I have turned around and said, wow, you've locked yourself out of the house. Oh my God, that must be a nightmare. You're now going to have to wait 30 minutes in the sun until I get home. Oh, I'm really sorry. I'll try to get there as quick as I can. Why didn't I respond like that? The reason I didn't respond like that is held within the pages of Joe Dispenza's book, right? And it's because of emotions. It's because when I was very young, I developed a number of emotions that I would they would emerge from me on a regular basis. And eventually, some of those emotions that I displayed more often than not became my personality, became who I am. So when somebody rings me up and tells me that they've locked themselves out of the house, I'm a bit of a pissy person, right? I'm resentful of them for kind of disrupting my life and my time, and I always come from that kind of negative energy and that negative space. Okay, and what Joe Dispenza is teaching me is that being in that constant negative space and being in that constant negative energy and that frame of mind and having those emotions that have created my personality means that I'm actually damaging my health, and I've been damaging my health for a considerable amount of time. Okay, now there are two ways to get healthy again. One obviously is exercise. Well, it's more than two. Exercise, nutrition, go and see a doctor, etc, etc. But one area which I am not doing enough work on is my thought processes. If it is true that your thoughts can make you ill, then isn't it also true that your thoughts can make you better, right? So that was an epiphanal moment for me, and I'm going to be creating a few assignments that I'm going to add to the Truth About Alcohol Intensive based around emotions and the work of Joe Dispenza and how emotions manifest themselves over time to become our mood and eventually our personality. So how our moods and our emotions are affected to personality and who we eventually become, and how damaging that is for us. You imagine if you're always like miserable, etc, etc, you're trying to give up drinking alcohol, compared to somebody who is like super upbeat, yeah, it's going to be a completely different journey for them. So that's super important. The other thing that I thought was an epiphanal moment for me was Joe Dispenza talked about being in a state of flow. Like, Joe Dispenza is basically saying, how do we stop drifting back into the past? How do we stop thinking about the future? How do we stop being controlled by our environment? He calls them the big three, right? I probably got that slightly wrong. But he talks about the big three of environment, time, and thought, I think it is. So thought is, like I just said, really having negative thoughts. Time is jumping back to the past, to memories that keep us stuck or are negative, or propelling ourselves into the future and thinking negatively, right? Those are time. And then the other one, so what was that? Thought, time, and environment. The other one is our environment, right? So where we live, where we exist, you know, where we put ourselves, the people we're around, all that kind of stuff, okay? So one of the ways that Joe Dispenza says to transcend those big three, transcend the real key milestones that keep us stuck and in our case keeps us drinking, is to find a state of flow, okay? And if anybody has read any of the work on Mihai I'm going to butcher his name, Csikszentmihalyi, I can't say his name. It's a very long name, okay? If anyone has done the work on flow, you'll understand the importance of this. So a good example of flow is doing something whereby you lose a sense of time. You don't travel backwards into the past, you don't travel into the future, you lose a sense of time. You are comfortable and happy with your surroundings, right? And you feel like an exalted kind of rush, like you're in the zone, everything is right, everything is perfect. And we talk about this in the freedom module of the intensive. It's about filling our white space. And it's really important to fill our white space with meaning and purpose. Like something that we would gladly do for nothing, that we do not feel procrastination or anything. We just want to get up and do it. And what Joe Dispenza got me thinking about this morning was how important the creative process is when it comes to finding your meaning and purpose, getting into the state of flow. Because if you think about it, let's say you're triggered and you want to drink alcohol, right? Because you're triggered for whatever reason. Now, how to get out of that triggered state. No, we have lots of tools on Truth About Alcohol, etc., etc. But the most best way of getting out of that state is to find yourself in the zone. If you're in the zone, if you're in the flow state, then the last thing you're going to think about is drinking alcohol, right? So I, armed with that information and that epiphany, if you like, I am going to create a new group of assignments that I'm going to add to the intensive based around flow and creativity, and how important it is for us all essentially to become budding artists in some way or another. We need to find a way as human beings to find a creative output, because if we can find a creative output that allows us to find ourselves more in a state of flow than out of state of flow, then it is going to make it really, really difficult for the resistance to impinge upon our life and to trigger us to drink alcohol, right? So I think those are two really, really fundamental issues that are really, really important to our philosophy of Truth About Alcohol. I'm going to play around with them, massage them, add them to our intensive, see how it works in the group. So I hope that was useful for you to share my thought process about, people say to me, Lee, how did you create the taster? How did you create the intensive? Well, this is how it happens. I just read a book, I think of an idea that somebody else has brought before me, I steal it, I change it. Sometimes I don't change it, I just write out steal it, and then I apply it to alcohol. All right, so I'm going to go back in Starbucks now and get some work done. But before I do that, it is now December the 9th, December the 11th. We have a new taster group starting on January the 1st. It is proving to be very, very successful. People are loving it, all right? If you want to join the January taster and become someone who doesn't drink alcohol for a month, to feel what that's like, then head over to www.thetruthaboutalcohol.co.uk and sign up, or reply to this email for further information. The payment is on a sliding scale, so the earlier that you sign up, the cheaper that it is. All right. If any questions whatsoever, give us a shout. Thanks for listening. Ta-da.